Tired of turning up to gigs where there's limited to no monitor feedback on the stage, can't hear yourself playing, want to have something for your ears? Hi, I'm Twisty, bass player for the Reckless Empire. In this video, I'm going to take you through how we set up our on-stage sound and occasionally the front of house mix as well, using the Allen and Heath digital mixer, the QU-SB. Let's have a look. This is the backbone of our audio signal chain for stage use. It's the Allen and Heath QU-SB digital mixer. There's 16 analog inputs, each with a support for phantom power if required. We use that on 2 of the inputs for the drum overhead mics. There are 10 monitor outputs, 3 stereo and 4 mono, which we use for in-ear monitoring and stage monitors. And there's a main left and right, which we use for powered speakers if we're providing the front of house. There's also a stereo in. We use this for our electronic drums, which we use as either trigger pads, or in some acoustic gigs we use that instead of a cajon. You'll notice that this is basically a stage box and there are no sliders. Control of the unit is done via the QPad app on iPad you can see sitting on top of the unit. This provides the same controls and functionality that the other QU devices in the family do. There's the QU-16, the QU-24 and the QU-32, all functionally the same. The QU-SB is connected to a small Wi-Fi router via the white cable. We use the Apple Airport Express, and the iPad connects to the same Wi-Fi network for its control. We've chosen this stage box option over the QU-16 so we can leave it at the back of the stage, not worry about being bumped, beer spilt on it, or setting up the mixing station in front of the venue taking up valuable space that punters could be. Also, with no sliders, the drummer can't change things. For simplicity in cabling, like most desks, we use tape to label each of the channels. Connecting our gear into the mixing desk requires some microphones, and we also use Line 6 Helix for bass and guitars. While the desk can take both TRS and XLR inputs, we've standardized on the XLR for the inputs. For one of the guitarists, he doesn't have a Helix, not sure why. We use these Sennheiser E609 guitar mics. They hang over the amp cabinet and pick those up. Easy, don't need a stand for those. Drum mics, we use AKG. Here's an example, here's the kick drum. The snare and toms all use the same. And we have a pair of pencil mics. These are for the overheads. These are phantom powered, and the channels on the desk have been enabled for phantom power for these particular microphones. One of the guitarists uses the HX Floor. That goes in 2 channels, XLR out of the Helix into a left channel and a right channel. For my bass rig, my live rig at the moment is HX Stomp. I have a 1/4 inch TRS to XLR cable, about a meter long, and I use that to go from the Stomp into a single channel on the desk. If I'm using my bigger LT, Helix LT, for bigger gigs, then I'll have that as left and right, so I'll take up 2 channels. The 2 channels from a bass are basically because of the Yamaha Attitude stereo. So I take up 2 channels, 2 amps, 2 channels. For vocals, we've got 2 Sennheiser E935s, which is being used by main vocals and drum vocals, and I've got the Rode M1. I find the Rode M1 similar to the Shure SM58. It was slightly cheaper on the day, and it was in stock. For in-ear monitors, we've got 2 styles, some wireless packs, and we also have some wired packs. The wired packs are for the drums and the second guitarist who don't move around, so they don't need to be wireless, and we also use them as backups for the wireless systems. For the wired, we're using Behringer. So we've got 2. This is the Behringer P2. This is quite compact, fits on a belt. It can run stereo or mono, however we have them configured as mono, and they're very simple, on, volume on, off, wired in, takes up a single monitor out on the desk. For the drums, because panning the overheads left and right makes it a bit more spacious or spatial awareness for the drummer, we use these ones. These are the Behringer P1. These take 2 inputs, and we can run those as either mono or stereo. But as I said, for the drums, the drummer prefers to have them as a stereo for the panning. Again, very simple, on, off, balance left, right. That's it. These are battery powered. They can be powered, but we run them off battery. Again, this one's stationary, sits at the drum stool. The 4RU gator case that we use to house the QU-SB unit also houses our 2 wireless units, which we have at the back of the case, as you can see here. The first one at the top is the MiPro MI808. That's the one that I use. And the second one is the LD Systems MEI 1000G. Both of these are configured as stereo. Both of these units are cabled so that the cables stick out the front and are connected into the monitor channels. The top one is a stereo going to 9 and 10, and the LD system is stereo and it connects into 7/8. Let's take a look at how we control the QU-SB. As you saw, the unit doesn't have any physical sliders, physical knobs, buttons, anything. It's just an interface. So we control it through the iPad, through the QU Pad application. So you can see on my iPad, I've got a QU Pad and a QUU application. The QU Pad is to control the unit itself, and the QUU is a subset which allows an individual to control their own personal monitor mix, and we'll talk about that later. So I select QU Pad. It then brings up a list of the devices. I can look at connecting to my Reckless QU-SB. There are 3 options: admin, standard, basic. Now you can put passwords on all of these to restrict who can accidentally or accidentally on purpose access it or keep the drummer out. As the front of house operator, I usually choose admin because it gives me full access. Standard and basic give reduced access. If I go to admin, it then prompts me for a password. Again, password is optional. Now I put the password in, it comes up with the main display. So the main display you see here is very similar to what you would see on a normal analog desk or digital desk, like the QU32 or the 16. Each channel has its own slider. I can turn the channel on or off. I can relabel the channel. I can mute the channel. And I can also change the gain for the channel. For our overhead mics, we have those joined as a pair. See, as I move one slider, both sliders move. So they're joined together as a parallel thing. I've panned one to the left and one to the right. I also, you'll see, have them highlighted as the 48 volt phantom power. So these microphones require the phantom power, so we have enabled for that. If I look at the kick, I don't have the phantom power enabled for it. As I said, main controls a slider. Left and right, the blue button at the top, which I'm linking. This is the main left and right front of house mix. There's a main control. This main control has a parametric EQ. It has a graphic EQ and has a compressor. Each individual channel has its own noise gate, parametric EQ, or compressor. On the right hand side, you'll see there's also a mix select, so I can create effects and add those to the channels or to the group itself. I can group channels and I can have monitor mixes. We'll talk about monitor mixes in a moment. We have 32 channels, up to 32 channels, if I slide across, and a number of stereo channels. You see we use one of the stereo channels for the eDrums. Now we only have 16 channels on our desk. However, this can be expanded using an external digital snake from Allen and Heath up to another 16, so up to 32, to bring it up in line with the QU32 scale. The rest of the controls and how we use those to mix a front of house mix we'll cover off in a second video. So don't forget to subscribe so that you can be notified when we bring that video out. It'll be highly entertaining. Recording live gigs or recording our acoustic YouTube channel sessions, we use the same unit. Under Home, there's an option for Q Drive. So Q Drive allows us to stick a memory stick or a solid state hard drive into the USB slot on the front of the device. And this allows us to record either a stereo mix above the white line or up to the full 16 channels we have as individual channels. When we do our YouTube recording and our live recording, we use the 16 channel, the bottom part. That allows us to then take those back and then process it and edit it back in a DAW such as Reaper or Pro Tools later on, ready to go up to YouTube. This is great because it means we don't have to carry a laptop around with us. It's all contained in the same box. It's as simple as I need a memory stick, I'll stick a memory stick in, I go into here and I press record. To make life simple for myself for recording, I've created a custom view which only has the Q Drive controls in it. So this is easy for me to do recording when I'm playing and recording at the same time. Opening up the QU application, I then get prompted again for a password. The reason we use the password, similar to the QU pad application, is so that we don't have people accidentally changing our monitoring mixes while we're playing. You can access this application both from an iPhone or an Android device or an iPad. When you open the application, then you're presented with 4 groups. One of them defaults to me, being my personal mix, and then you have the ability to group anything else in other groups. I have mine set, as you can see, for drums, guitars and vocals. There's a master slider to give me the overall volume of my personal mix. I can mute my personal mix, and if I double click, I get access to a parametric EQ for the mix, a graphic EQ for the mix, and a compressor for the mix. The individual group barrels allow me to change the volume down or up for an entire group mix for that particular group. In this case, I'm changing the volume in my mix for the drums. If I want to double click on that, it then brings me up the individual mix for that group. So you can see here I have all the drums set. I can change the individual sliders to change that for each of those, so I can mix it myself, and then going back I then get the overall volume mix. Guitars are very similar. You can see this one, Simon's guitar has a mic, and the helix is set as a parallel left and right, based on the same as the front of house mix. For vocals, I have 2 vocals, and under me I've got my bass, which again is helix. I've got parallel control over the volume, and then I have my own vocals. So I can have more of me bass, more of me vocals, or just more of me all over. It's quite easy to assign. Clicking on the assign button, I can then select additional channels that I want to have in my mix, and they'll just appear. You can also lock. This gives me the ability to lock it so that every time I open this app, it will be the same, and nobody can delete, or I don't accidentally delete some of the assignments. So there you go. From an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, I've quickly got the ability for myself to personally change what's hearing in my ears as opposed to what everybody else is hearing in their ears. Sometimes it is quite fun to pick on Simon and change his mix for him. Wouldn't do that. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch the video. Hopefully you've had some fun looking at the stuff that we use to make our live sounds. As we've mentioned before, the channel also has other video clips and how-to, so please check out the other ones and also make comments on those if you like them. Stay reckless.